Chapter 3, Life More Abundant. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Jesus. All life is the breath of God. When God created man, he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Genesis 2:7. Life, then, that mysterious something that man has tried in vain to analyze, to weigh and to measure, even to produce. Life, I say, is the breath of God. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Is it any wonder that man tries in vain to catch this life principle, to harness it and to produce it? There is but one kind of life in the universe. All life is divine. All life is the breath of God. All life of God made manifest, and the manifestation varies according to the degree, so to speak, in which God, the breath of life, comes forth into visibility through the various forms, according to the measure of Christ's gift. In the rock, an invisible something holds the atoms from flying off from one another as would be their natural bent. Natural science calls this the force of cohesion. Cohesive force is but another name for the breath of God pervading the atoms of the rock. Life in the vegetable, the grass, the tree, is all one and the same life manifested in larger measure than in the rock. Man is the fullest, highest form of God manifested as life. We read that in the beginning, this mysterious something which we cannot see, feel, or handle, but which is plainly stated to be the breath of life, was breathed into clay man, and man became a living being. Has the manner of creation changed any since the first beginning? Is it not the beginning for every new creation today? Is not the life of every being the very breath of God today, just as much as it was ever? Are not we all equally his children, his offspring by inheritance? Yea, verily. God's breath is what God is. That is, it is of the same nature and substance. If God is life, his breath is life. If God's breath is our life, that life must be like God, eternal in every child he creates. Without that breath of God given individually, none of us could exist today. Neither the soul of man nor the body of man has life in itself. Both are made alive and kept alive momentarily by the Spirit that is God pervading and permeating them. The Spirit gives life, for you have died and your life is hidden with Christ in God. Jesus came that we might have life, and that we might have it abundantly. He came to show us our true relation to the source of all life, and to teach us how to draw consciously about God, our Father, for more abundant life as we need it. This does not mean spiritual life alone, but life for the entire being. Is our heart cold, and is our love dead? We cannot analyze love, we cannot work it up at will, but we know that God is love, and love is God. What we need is more of God, love breathed into our hearts until we are surcharged and transformed into new creatures by divine love. He breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit." Something was given by his breathing on them. Do we lack wisdom? It is not more laborious study that we need in order to obtain it, but a fresh supply of omniscience. All knowledge, all wisdom, breathed into this intellect by him who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly. It is more of the breath of the living God we need. If we are weak and unstable in character, if we are failures mentally, spiritually, or physically, if we feel ourselves in any way bound or limited, it is because we need more of the mysterious breath of God, which is power, life, freedom. He is God, not of the dead, but of the living, said Jesus. Health is more life. Drugs will not give life. Travel and change of scene, so often resorted to in illness in mind and body, will not give life except in so far as they tend to relax the tense, rigid mind and body and permit God, who is always in process of outgoing, as life toward us, his children, to flow in to fill a lack. We do not have to beseech God. Life more abundant rushes into the souls and bodies of men as air does into a vacuum. The moment they learn how consciously to relax and turning toward God, let it. People who are persistently ill or unsuccessful in any way say they are tired of it all and want to die. They know not what they say. They do not understand. It is not death they want, but more life. This breath of the Almighty is to us the only health and strength, the only power and success of either mind or body. With you is the fountain of life. Whoever finds me finds life. In him, Christ, this very Christ who now lives within us, was life, and the life was the light of all people. If the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will give life to your mortal bodies also through his Spirit that dwells in you. Life is God's gift. The outer life is but the outflowing of the inner life, and that inner life is momentarily fed from the fountain of life through Christ at the center of our being. God gives his own life freely to all who can receive it. If this be true, that the breath of the Almighty is the only health of mind or body, why look elsewhere? What then are we to do? Change our minds, turn around. If through ignorance of the only and unfailing source of our life, we have turned our backs upon God and our faces towards human help like drugs, change of environment, and the like, let us halt and face about. Yet you refuse to come to me to have life, says the Christ of God today, as much as he did through the lips of the Master 1900 years ago. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. I am the resurrection and the life, says this same Christ within you today. Notice that it is I am, not I will be. Present tense, not future. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. It is though he said, he that believeth on me is the source of his life, and turns away from human ways to me as the way. Even if he seems to be at the very last gasp of his soul, body, or circumstance, I say he shall be made alive by the same power that was able to raise Jesus from the dead. God's gifts are alike to all, but we have to learn how to receive freely that which he gives, how to open ourselves to the inflow of divine life through the Christ at the center of your being, exactly as we would open ourselves to the warm rays of the sun. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God. Elsewhere we have said that all conscious taking or receiving from God is a mental process. The human mind believes itself, in the matter of life, cut off from God, a separate being, something apart from God. This belief is not correct. The wire of communication between the Creator and his creation is never cut. The channel of inflowing divine life never ceases. Each blade of grass receives its life, its springtime renewing force, as directly from the fountain of life as though it were only the thing in the universe. Each sparrow draws its life directly from the same source. You are of more value than many sparrows. How can man, by mental process, stimulate and increase this inflow of divine life? How can even the least of us consciously draw upon the inexhaustible fountain for the life more abundant that we need for soul, body, and circumstance? The words that I have spoken to you are spirit and life, said the Master. Is there any power or life in words? Let us see. But only speak the word, and my servant will be healed, said the centurion. That was all that was done. But a little further we read, the servant was healed in that hour. He sent out his word and healed them and delivered them from destruction. Psalm 107:20. So shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose. Isaiah 55:11. All words of truth are alive with an invisible energy that has power to work miracles. Truth is mighty to accomplish results, but in order to do so, it must be spoken into activity. It must be put into words. The same Christ who said, I am the life, said also, I am the truth. Life, truth, Christ are one. The words of truth that you and I speak in the name and spirit of the Master become his words, full of life and health. Such words set into motion the invisible energy that accomplishes results, and nothing is accomplished when it is quiescent. Speaking definite, positive words of assurance to oneself or to another has marvelous power to lift and transform, power to fill the fearful, trembling heart and the suffering body with a consciousness of the real, living presence of God. There is wondrous, life-giving power in definitely and vigorously compelling oneself to sing to the Lord a new song, even making a song of praise and thanksgiving for benefits. Everyone has power through his will, apart from any feeling if need be, to follow the prophet's advice. Take words with you and return to the Lord. No matter how deep or poignant his misery, a person can compel himself by mere willpower to look up to God and say, Bless the Lord, O my soul, and do not forget all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your disease, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy, who satisfies you with good as long as you live. Psalm 103, 2 through 5. No matter what you feel like or not, say it. Put it into words. Out of the depths of misery, begin sincerely and earnestly to speak words of praise and thanksgiving, and soon you will find yourself involuntarily say, I fear no evil, for you are with me, my cup overflows. This is God's way of working to deliver us out of our own troubles. Thus he comforts us and gives newness of life through our first speaking comfortably to ourselves and to him the words of truth. Such words have power to free the channel between our own centers of life and the fountain of all life. Channels that may have been clogged by our selfishness or ignorance, so that a great, surging influx of a new life can take place. You shall call your walls salvation and your gates praise. Praise and thanksgiving open wide the gates of salvation. You may say, of what avail is all this except to uplift my thought, making it easier for me to bear my trouble, illness, sorrow? It cannot change the real, visible conditions. Yes, it can and does. Lazarus was as dead as he ever could be, and there was no faint stirring of life when Jesus lifted his eyes and said, I thank you, Father. Jesus understood that the gates in the wall of salvation from this death would fly open at the paean of praise. Every instant that our hearts are thus uplifted in a spirit of gratitude, which, remember, is aroused by our first beginning to speak words of gratitude for benefits received. This mighty energy that we have spoken of, and is none other or less than the Spirit of the living God, is working to change, restore, and heal the very trouble that seems about to destroy us. Oh, how many times this has been proved by those of God's children who, in some degree at least, have come to know the way of the Father's working, even as Jesus did. How many times they have proven that the solution of the problem, the healing of the illness, depended not upon human effort, but entirely upon taking the thought altogether off the distress and centering it, by main force of will if need be, upon thanking and blessing God for all his benefits. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, said the Lord of hosts, is the work accomplished. This is a spiritual law, infallible and unchangeable, a law that works, and many times it is the only thing that does work. No one is so weak in will, but that he thus compel himself to take words and return to the Lord, even as he would take hold of a mighty lever to lift a heavy weight. Let anyone who wishes take the water of life as a gift. End of chapter.